Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. Once we had set up our dining room, we rarely used it, as we preferred the cozy atmosphere of the kitchen. This had been the case for quite some time. I placed our work desk there, and its richly decorated design provided ample space for everything I needed to organize. I must admit, I was a bit obsessed with cleanliness, and I loved the soft, diffused light that filled the room. Then she walked in, her new high heels clicking on the floor, announcing her presence. She called out to me, but I was focused on my work and didn't respond until I had finished. Finally, I enthusiastically shouted back, "I'm here! Could you come in for a minute?" Rolling her eyes, she stepped into the doorway. "What is it?" she asked, clearly in a hurry. I pulled her close and embraced her. At 47, tall and graceful, she had an attractive figure. Her chest was beautiful, not too large but very responsive. Having no children, she hadn't faced the struggles of post-pregnancy weight. Her weight was nearly the same as it had been when I married her 27 years ago. I always admired her chestnut hair, so I was a bit upset when she decided to go blonde 4 months ago. She looked a little cheap, though maybe I'm being biased. "I won't take long," I reassured her. "Besides, I have a feeling your meeting might get canceled. Let's go. I'll leave you in peace if you finish this up. You made it pretty clear where you'd prefer me to be." She dramatically sighed and rolled her eyes, taking a seat opposite me. "Thanks. As I said, I'll be brief. I want you to think carefully and be honest. This isn't just a hypothetical. Tell me in monetary terms, how much do you think intimacy with you is worth? Do you believe different acts have different values? I know that escorts have different rates. I'm not sure exactly how much women charge for their affections, but I imagine it's quite a bit. I'm seeking your help to establish a baseline. Consider it research. In your opinion, is your value closer to that of a courtesan, or more like a street worker? Perhaps I should find a middle ground. Should I take into account factors like enthusiasm, skill level, and various seductions, like lingerie, mood enhancers such as soft lighting and candles, or indulgences like strawberries and chocolate? I'm also considering the appeal of motel rooms and other similar options. That's the kind of perspective I'm aiming for in my overall evaluation. As I continued my monologue, I noticed her expression changing, her mouth slightly agape in disbelief. When I finally paused, hoping to give her a chance to respond, she quickly closed her mouth. "What are you talking about? This isn't funny, Donald. It's ridiculous." She used my full name, a clear sign she was irritated. If I kept pushing, she'd quickly transition to full-blown anger. "Oh, I get it, Sherry. It's absurd. Just like it's been absurd ever since you started flirting with Jameson." "So it's Jameson, is it? What a pretentious name. He's just a bumpkin in a suit. His friends call him Jimmy Jam, and that name fits him better." Her eyes narrowed. I could feel a storm brewing. "Go on, Mount St. Helens, erupt already. I've already told you nothing's going on between us. He doesn't even mean that much to me. Is that really what this is about? I swear, if you mention him one more time, I'm walking out of here." I couldn't help but smirk. Jameson, 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 Jimmy Jam. It sounds like a rapper's name, doesn't it? A backwoods rapper, Jimmy Jim Jameson, rhyming about his pickup truck, partying hard, and maybe even getting involved with married women. I see a bright future for him and lots of money. Surprise flashed across her eyes, and then they narrowed again, as if she was starting to understand what I was getting at. "I'm really sorry, Sherry. I got sidetracked and it won't happen again. Let's switch the subject back to something more practical. Honestly, I had my doubts about coming here at first, even though my career was going well. With each passing day, I appreciate this place more and more. Yesterday was pleasant, and I even played golf in the last week of February. I'm puzzled by the unpredictable weather, but I'm planning to stay here no matter what. And you know what I like most about this place? It's still possible to file an alienation of affection case here, which means you can sue someone for taking away your spouse. After all, this is one of the few states where it's still an option. Although it takes a unique set of circumstances to win and receive compensation, it's an intriguing possibility. That's why I dove into this research. I want to prepare a comprehensive report outlining the types of behavior in question, their frequency, and the methods I used to gather the data. I have a few video recordings and several witnesses, which should form a solid foundation for my conclusions. However, it would be very helpful if you could clarify how much you think a night with you is worth, almost like a consultation with an expert. My lawyer found my initial idea amusing, but ultimately acknowledged its potential significance, citing precedents. This could potentially change how people view this type of lawsuit. Raising the financial stakes might lead to more settlements, benefiting the lawyers and making it easier for judges to determine appropriate financial payouts. I need your cooperation on this matter. Otherwise, my lawyer will make sure your involvement is outlined in detail, step by step. These are the kinds of statements I want to hear, and you should consider the small advantages you might gain. Once the separation and divorce papers are signed, the clock on any expenses will stop. We won't even bother you with serving official notice. It's simple enough. Just visit his office. Think in advance about how much you and Jameson can save on gas and hotel expenses if you start living together. By the way, he does have a spare bedroom if he can convince his wife to agree. Incidentally, I've shared my findings with her, and she plans to use them in her case against you, so you might want to meet somewhere else. You could even split the attorney's fees with her. His eyes fell on Sherry, unconscious on the dining room floor. It wasn't so much a fall as it was like a balloon deflating as she sank down. So much for being an expert consultant, but that didn't matter anymore. The documents I prepared speak for themselves. I printed out my research, neatly folded it into a folder, and placed it on her chest. She'll find it as soon as she comes to. In the meantime, my lawyer, Mrs. Jimmy Jem, and I are off to dinner at the best BBQ spot in town. I hope Sherry understands that once the door closes behind her today, there's no turning back. I need to change the locks. Honestly, it's gotten to the point where I can't even enjoy a meal. Sherry's called 10 times, and I've had to mute her. At that moment, Mrs. Jimmy Jem was telling one of her funny stories about her wandering husband. She mentioned that she's considering writing a book called Life with a Dog. It turns out Sherry isn't the only one in his life. She offered to give me the addresses of the other wives so I could share my plan with their husbands once mine is ready. After all, we wouldn't want everyone flipping the script at the same time, right? I refocused on her story. Things were far from simple. Sherry wasn't ready to end the marriage. She was genuinely remorseful, insisting it would never happen again, and that she had learned from her mistakes. For 5 months, she fought to save the relationship, but eventually, she gave in, signed the divorce papers, and went back home. By the time the process started, Jameson had attracted media attention, and the judge, an eccentric old-timer with 2 ex-wives, allowed me to testify as a witness. The courtroom burst into laughter when he tried to blend into the background. Surprisingly, he turned out to be quite wealthy, owning half a car dealership, and I ended up receiving a larger settlement than expected. Mrs. Jameson got the house and a quarter of the dealership. When it was all over, she shared my findings with the other 3 husbands, and it turned out he was lucky to keep his job as a car salesman rather than owning a stake in the dealership. For almost 3 years, I avoided women until I met a fiery redhead from the countryside, a widow with 2 young sons. I started coaching her kids in soccer when a friend convinced me to give it a try. At first, things didn't click between us, but over time we grew warmer toward each other. She often teased me about my chivalrous gestures in public, like holding doors open, pulling out chairs at restaurants, and always being attentive in social settings. She kept joking until our 3rd date when I finally lost my patience. I told her, "If you don't like being treated like a lady, that's your choice. But if you're with me, I will treat you that way. If you want to be treated poorly, go back to where you came from." She looked confused but quietly waited for me to open her car door, and we drove home in silence. Later, as I walked her to her door, she apologized. I did my best to explain my point of view. I was raised with certain values. My grandfather believed that women should be treated with respect, in public, like a lady, in private, like a partner, and of course he had his own views on intimacy. Your eyes glimmer in the moonlight, and if I were to be in a relationship with you, how would I engage with you in that intimate space? I would cherish you as an incredible individual, focusing on making our time together truly unforgettable. My goal is not dominance or control, but rather to be a lover who leaves you completely fulfilled. But I feel we haven't reached that moment yet. Do you know what might be holding you back, my dear? Overthinking. The next morning we were late picking up the boys, and her mom gave us a knowing smile. A year later, when we gathered them around the table to share the news that in 5 months I would be their new dad, they burst out in joy. We had a playful relationship, and I joked with the eldest, telling him he would be the one to carry the ring. The youngest was curious to know what his role would be. "What will my part be?" he asked. I replied, "Well, we'll need a flower girl." "Mommy, Daddy wants me to be the flower girl," he exclaimed. I reassured him, "You'll look absolutely stunning in the dress." He seemed on the verge of tears, so I took him into my arms and sat him on my lap. "I was just kidding, son. How about you carry the ring and your brother will be the best man?" No one objected, and that's exactly how it went. 5 years later, it's amusing to hear them grumble about having to look after their little sister. After that, I never saw Sherry again. According to my older brother, she lived alone and worked 2 jobs to support herself. After the divorce, it was as if she disappeared. And you know what? I don't regret for a second that Sherry cheated on me and our marriage ended. I'm even grateful to her because now I'm truly happy with the woman who gave me a daughter. The only thing I regret is wasting 27 years on someone who didn't deserve me. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel. Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. On an autumn Saturday evening, Steve and his wife Sheila, married for 20 years, were enjoying a peaceful rest at home. Fully immersed in watching yet another loss by his team, Sheila, who was quietly flipping through a magazine, suddenly spoke. "Honey, have you ever thought about being with other women?" To which Steve replied, "Of course I have. After all, I'm a man, and the thought crosses my mind constantly, but I would never act on it. Why are you bringing this up?" Before responding, Sheila hesitated. "I just thought since our marriage is so strong, maybe it would be interesting to see what other men are like. After all, you're the only man I've ever been with, and it's been over 20 years. So why bring this up now?" She continued, "There's this man at work, Brad, who seems to be very popular with women. I've been told he's really good in bed, and it seems like he's taken an interest in me. I could never betray your trust, so I wanted to be honest with you first." "I understand. Go ahead. Do whatever you want. Seriously, you don't mind?" "Not at all. I'll take care of the paperwork, and you can begin your open exploration." "Paperwork? What kind exactly?" "Oh, divorce papers, of course. Have you completely lost your mind, thinking I'd let you be with other men? Seriously? You know, honey, you could have responded to my suggestion more kindly. Don't be so primitive, just hear me out. You need to focus here. What good would it do me to think about you being with other guys? For starters, we have 3 kids who need both a mother and a father. In the event of a divorce, you'll be responsible for significant alimony, and it will be difficult for you to see the kids regularly because I'll make things hard for you. Given that I'll likely stay home as the primary caregiver, and since we've been married for over 20 years, you'll have to provide substantial support for a long time. Plus, I'll be entitled to the house, which you'll continue to finance, and meanwhile, I'll be seeing other men. Do you see where I'm going with this? So, are you suggesting an open marriage or exploring intimacy with other men? Honey, I'm counting on your loyalty. If you betrayed me, I'd have no choice but to end our marriage immediately. Does that seem reasonable to you? But you had several relationships before we got together, didn't you? I think you mentioned 3 or 5, right? That's true, but what does that have to do with anything? I think it would only be fair if I also had relationships with 3 or 5 other men. Then we'd be even, and we could return to how things are now. It's not a bad idea, right? In reality, it would be a terrible outcome, and it's unlikely to happen. With a smug grin, Sheila responded, "You know, honey, maybe you should just go through with the divorce and see how the next 10 years turn out." To be honest, I have to agree with you. There's nothing good about divorce. "Hang on for a second while I go upstairs, grab a gun, and deal with your nonsense," he said in a sharp tone. I can only imagine how our three wonderful kids would cope without you. Wait, where are you rushing off to? Without a word, Steve stormed past her and headed upstairs. Soon she heard the sound of him opening the safe, followed by the unmistakable click of a gun being loaded. Panic overtook Sheila, and she ran out the door. That same day, Steve contacted a lawyer and began divorce proceedings. Thanks to the home security system, Steve was able to prove that Sheila was planning to cheat on him and was pushing for an open marriage. Steve easily won full custody of their two younger children, while Sheila was left alone with a broken heart. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel. Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. The conference had just ended, and the participants were outside celebrating with drinks and laughter. I didn't want to witness the typical post-conference revelry, so I quietly slipped away, hoping to find a calm place to eat alone. After wandering a bit, I ended up in a nearly empty bar, sat down at a table, and waited for my food. At that moment, a woman entered, about my age, with blonde hair and wearing a well-tailored business suit, and sat down next to me. She waved to the bartender, ordering a drink with obvious urgency. "Something strong, double," she said. She quickly drained her first glass and immediately ordered a second. Socializing isn't my strong suit, which my wife always teases me about, calling me one of the most reclusive people she knows. However, for some reason I felt compelled to say something. "Rough day?" I asked. She looked at me with her blue eyes, which glistened with unshed tears. Without responding, she silently finished her second drink, got up, and headed for the exit. But instead of leaving, she collapsed into a chair by the door, her shoulders beginning to shake with sobs. Not knowing what to do, I hesitated, then approached and gently placed my hand on her shoulder. "Sorry if I'm intruding. Do you need help? Maybe I can call someone or a cab?" Her tear-streaked face lifted to me, her eyes swollen with grief, her expression reminding me of a lost child. In that brief moment, it felt like my heart stopped. All I wanted was to comfort her, to assure her that everything would be okay. On the table nearby was a box of tissues and a bottle of hand sanitizer. I took a tissue and gently wiped her tears until her sobs gradually subsided. For a moment, gratitude flashed in her eyes. When her tears finally ceased, she looked me in the eye and quietly said, "Thank you. You didn't have to do that." She gave a weak smile. "Funny how it all started with your awkward attempt at conversation," she added, still smiling faintly. Before I could respond, she leaned in to kiss me. I instinctively turned my head, so her lips touched my cheek. I gently placed my hands on her shoulders and kissed her forehead. But she didn't stop. She came closer again, this time aiming for my lips. I hesitated. "Are you sure this is what you want?" I asked with doubt. Before I could rethink it, her lips touched mine, and any resistance quickly faded. My hotel was just a few minutes' walk away, and we went there together. However, throughout it all, a sense of unease lingered. This wasn't like me, and I wasn't sure I even wanted it. When we entered the room, she asked, "Mind if I use your bathroom?" I nervously sat on the edge of the bed, listening to the sound of water running in the shower that filled the room. My stomach churned, and time seemed to slow down. When the water finally stopped, a wave of dread washed over me. She emerged from the bathroom completely naked, her blonde hair cascading down her shoulders as she approached me. She reached for a kiss again, but all I could think was, "I need to take a shower." Under the cold water, my mind raced frantically. The whole situation felt surreal, as if I had been ripped from reality. After what felt like an eternity, I emerged, put on a robe, and sat back on the edge of the bed. Nothing made sense. After a long pause, I finally reached out to her. "I'm sorry," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "I didn't want you to misunderstand. I can't do this. I'm really sorry." She looked at me with an impassive expression and simply said, "Good job." Without saying another word, she dressed and quietly left the room. The next morning, my wife Amanda met me at the airport, smiling warmly as I approached. "How was the conference?" she asked with lightness in her voice. "Something strange happened last night," I began, still feeling anxious. Amanda's smile grew wider and she said, as if she knew something, "I already know." Surprised, I asked, "What do you mean, you know?" "The woman you met last night is a close friend of mine. We made a small bet. We wanted to see if our husbands would remain faithful. She lost. I won." It took me a few moments to process her words. And then, the reality of the situation hit me like a wave. I could have lost everything I had built over 30 years, the marriage I cherished so much, but I passed the test. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel.